I never thought the sharpest wound of my life would be carved not by an enemy, not by a stranger, but by the very hands I once held while teaching her how to walk. I never thought my own daughter, the one I gave my youth, my health, my everything for, would be the one to break me. When people ask me about betrayal, I don't talk about neighbors or relatives or friends.
No.
I talk about my own blood. The day I sold my jewelry, the last memory of my husband, the only wealth I had saved for emergencies, to give my daughter her dream wedding, I thought I was proving the power of a mother's love. Instead, I was signing my own heartbreak. And what she did to me after marriage still makes my chest ache whenever I think about it. But let me take you back to where it all began. If you are watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. I was not born into wealth. My husband and I lived a simple life. He was a factory worker. I sewed clothes at home for extra income. Together, we made ends meet. We never had luxuries, but we had love. And when our daughter, Emily, was born, our world lit up brighter than the sun. I still remember holding her for the first time, her tiny fingers curling around mine. I promised her then, whispered into her little ears, that I would give her a life better than mine. I didn't know at that time how heavy that promise would become. Years passed, and we lived paycheck to paycheck. We skipped vacations, skipped new clothes, skipped meals sometimes. But Emily never knew hunger. She never knew the pain of going without. I made sure of it. When she wanted books for school, I skipped my own medicine. When she wanted new shoes, I patched on my old ones and smiled. When she needed money for college applications, I worked late into the night, sewing until my fingers bled. Her happiness was my happiness. Sometimes, neighbors would whisper, "She spoils that girl too much." But they didn't understand. Emily wasn't just my daughter. She was my dream. She was the proof that my life, though poor and difficult, had meaning. When Emily was 15, tragedy struck. My husband, her father, fell ill. A sickness that drained him quickly, like sand slipping through my fingers. I begged doctors, prayed to God, sold small pieces of jewelry just to afford medicine. But nothing saved him. And suddenly I was alone. A widow. A single mother. Emily cried in my lap the night we buried him. "Don't leave me too, Mama," she sobbed. And I held her tight and whispered, "Never, my child. Never. As long as I breathe, I'll be here for you." From that day, my life became harder, but my determination grew stronger. I worked longer hours. I stopped buying anything for myself. Every coin, every note went to Emily's future. Emily grew into a beautiful young woman, bright, ambitious, charming. She was everything I had ever dreamed she would be. Neighbors often said, "She's so lucky to have you as a mother." But I always thought, no, I'm the lucky one. To have her, she was my reason to wake up every morning, my reason to keep fighting. And when she came to me one evening, her cheeks glowing, her eyes sparkling, saying, "Mama, I've found the one I want to marry," my heart swelled. Her happiness was my happiness. Always. His name was Daniel, a polite young man from a middle-class family, respectful and gentle in those early days. Emily looked at him as if he hung the stars in the sky. And if he made her smile, then he was good enough for me. But weddings are not cheap, especially the kind Emily wanted. "Mama," she said one night, holding my hands, "I've always dreamed of a big wedding, with a white dress, a banquet hall, music, flowers, the works. I know it's a lot to ask, but..." Her voice trailed off. She didn't need to finish, because I had already decided long ago that when the time came, I would give her everything, even if it meant tearing pieces of myself away. That night, I opened my old wooden box. Inside lay the last of my treasures. The gold bangles my mother gave me when I married. The necklace my husband saved for months to buy me. Earrings I had kept safe for Emily's future. They weren't just jewelry. They were memories. They were pieces of my life. But as I touched them, tears filled my eyes. Because I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I went to the jeweler. I placed the box on the counter with trembling hands. He weighed each piece carefully, one by one, stripping memories into cold numbers. When he told me the final price, my heart sank. It wasn't enough for the whole wedding, but it would cover most of it. And without hesitation, I nodded. "Sell them," I whispered. When I came home with the money, Emily's face lit up. "Oh, Mama," she cried, hugging me tightly. "You're the best mother in the world." "Thank you. Thank you." Her joy washed away my pain. For a moment, I didn't care about the empty box lying under my bed. For a moment, I believed the sacrifice was worth it. Because isn't that what mothers do? We give. We bleed. We break. And we smile while doing it. But I had no idea that the jewelry I sold for her happiness would become the very chains of my sorrow. Because after the wedding, my daughter's true colors began to show. And what she did to me tore my heart into pieces. The days leading up to the wedding were a blur of noise, color, and endless tasks. I woke up before dawn every day, cooking meals for the guests who would soon arrive, stitching last-minute alterations into Emily's dress, running errands from one end of town to the other. Neighbors teased me, saying, "You look more like the bride than your daughter, running around with all that energy." And I laughed, though my feet ached and my back throbbed. Because in my heart, every ounce of pain was worth it for my Emily. When I handed the wedding planner the money from the jewelry, his eyes widened. "Are you sure, ma'am? This is a lot." I nodded. Every mother dreams of seeing her daughter happy on her wedding day. This is mine. The big day came. Emily stood before me in her gown. White, shimmering, delicate lace trailing behind her. She looked like an angel descended from heaven. I adjusted her veil with trembling fingers. "You look just like your father always imagined you would," I whispered. Tears filled her eyes. She hugged me. "Mama, thank you for everything." For that moment, I felt complete. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every hunger pang, it had all led to this. As she walked down the aisle with Daniel waiting at the altar, my chest swelled with pride. When the guests applauded, when the vows were spoken, when the rings were exchanged, I told myself, she is happy. And that is all that matters. The banquet hall glittered with lights and laughter. Music played, people danced, and Emily and Daniel glowed in the center of it all. I sat at a corner table, watching her laugh freely, her hand in his. My heart warmed, yet a tiny ache gnawed inside me. Because as the plates piled up, as the bills grew higher, I knew I had emptied everything I had. But I silenced the thought. It doesn't matter, I told myself. She is happy. That's enough. After the wedding, Emily came to me holding my hands. "Mama, I'll be living with Daniel now. But don't worry, I'll visit you every week. You'll never feel alone." Her words soothed me, though my heart clenched as she walked out with her new husband, leaving the house quieter than it had ever been. I sat in her empty room that night, touching the edge of her childhood bed, remembering the little girl who once whispered secrets into my ear. And though loneliness pressed heavy, I smiled through my tears. "She has her own life now," I whispered. "That's how it should be." The first few weeks after marriage were sweet. Emily did visit, sometimes with Daniel, sometimes alone. She brought me small gifts, hugged me tightly, told me stories of her new life. I clung to every visit like a starving person to food. Her laughter filled my house again, even if only for a short while. One evening, as she kissed my cheek before leaving, she said, "Mama, I'll always be your little girl. Don't ever forget that." And I believed her. But slowly things began to change. The visits became less frequent. The hugs became shorter. The phone calls became colder. When I called her, sometimes she didn't answer. Sometimes she said, "I'm busy, Mama. I'll call you later." But later never came. At first, I told myself it was normal. Every newly married couple needs time to adjust. I didn't want to be the mother who clings, who suffocates. But late at night, when I sat alone in the quiet house, the doubts began to creep in. One evening, I visited Emily's new home. I carried a box of sweets I had made, excited to surprise her. Daniel opened the door. His smile was polite but thin. "Oh, it's you." I stepped inside, only to see Emily glance at me with something I had never seen before. Irritation. "Mama, you should have called first," she said flatly. I blinked, my heart stinging. I just wanted to see you. I made your favorite sweets." She sighed, setting the box aside without even opening it. "Thanks, but Daniel and I were just about to head out." Her words cut deeper than any knife. I forced a smile, nodded, and said, "Of course, dear. I don't want to disturb you." As I walked home alone that night, the streets felt darker than usual. After that, things only worsened. She stopped asking me about my health. She stopped checking if I had enough groceries. Weeks would pass without her visiting. When I called, she answered curtly, "Yes, Mama? What do you need?" What did I need? Nothing, except the daughter I had raised. The daughter I had sacrificed everything for. But slowly I realized she was slipping away. And deep down, I feared that something or someone was pulling her farther from me. I had sold my jewelry, the last piece of my past, for her happiness. But little did I know, she was already writing the script of my heartbreak. At first, it was small things. Emily stopped picking up my calls as often. She sent short, clipped replies to my messages. "Busy, Mama. Can't talk now. I'll call later." Later never came. When weeks passed without seeing her, I swallowed my pride and went to her house again. Daniel answered the door, his smile stretched thin. "Oh, it's you again." I forced a laugh. Yes, I thought I'd surprise Emily. But when I stepped inside, Emily's eyes flicked toward me with unmistakable annoyance. "Mama, why didn't you call first?" she asked sharply. My heart sank. Once upon a time, she would have run into my arms, thrilled to see me. Now she stood stiff, as if my presence was a burden. I placed a small parcel on the table. Inside were her favorite sweets. "I made these for you," I said softly. She didn't even open the box. Instead, she looked at Daniel and sighed. We were just about to leave. I smiled through the ache in my chest. "I won't take much of your time. Just thought you might like them." Emily nodded absently, already reaching for her purse. And in that moment, standing in my daughter's house, the house I helped her build by selling the jewelry of my youth, I felt like a stranger. A few weeks later, I overheard something that shattered me. I had gone to drop off some vegetables from my garden. I lingered outside the kitchen as Emily and Daniel spoke. Daniel's voice was sharp. "Why does she keep coming here? Doesn't she understand we're married now? She's always interfering." Emily's reply cut deeper than any knife. "I know. Sometimes I think she only does it to make herself feel important. She has nothing else in her life. Honestly, Daniel, I wish she'd stop clinging to me." I staggered back, my breath stolen. Clinging? Was that what my love had become? A weight, an annoyance? The daughter I had carried in my womb, the child I had raised with trembling hands and sleepless nights, now saw me as a burden. Not long after, Emily visited me. For a moment, my heart soared. Maybe she had come to spend time with me, to share a meal, to sit the way we used to. But her first words were cold. "Mama, Daniel and I need some financial help. Just until we get on our feet." My chest tightened. "But Emily, you know I don't have much left. I gave you everything for the wedding." Her expression hardened. "So you're saying no?" Tears welled in my eyes. "I'm saying I wish I could do more, but I have nothing. She exchanged a glance with Daniel, then shrugged.
Fine. Don't worry about it.
But the way she said it, the icy edge in her tone, told me everything. I wasn't her mother anymore. I was just a dried up well she could no longer drink from. One evening, I fell ill. Fever burned through me, my body trembling with weakness. Desperate, I called Emily. Sweetheart, I'm not feeling well. Could you come? Her reply was swift, impatient. Mama, I can't. Daniel and I have plans tonight. Just take some medicine and rest. Before I could speak again, the line went dead. I lay there in my bed, sweat soaking my pillow, staring at the ceiling. My mind echoed with one thought. When did I stop being her priority? When did love turn into inconvenience? The final blow came at a family gathering. Relatives praised Emily, telling me, "You must be so proud. She looks radiant. Her wedding was the grandest we've seen in years." I forced a smile, but when they walked away, I overheard Emily speaking to her cousin. She always acts like she's sacrificed so much. Honestly, she exaggerates. It wasn't that big of a deal. Besides, Daniel and I handled most of the wedding expenses anyway. My blood froze. I wanted to scream, to remind her of the jewelry I had sold, the nights I had gone hungry, the debts I had silently paid. But my throat closed. And for the first time, I realized my daughter wasn't just drifting away. She was rewriting the story of my sacrifices, erasing me from it entirely. I had given her everything. My savings, my health, my very soul. And yet, she stood there, dismissing me as if I were nothing. That was the day something inside me cracked. I knew then. Emily wasn't the daughter I had raised. She was someone else now. Someone I didn't recognize. And though it broke me to admit it, she was capable of betraying me in ways I had never imagined. But this was only the beginning. The real betrayal was still waiting. It happened one night. I couldn't sleep. The walls of my house felt suffocating, the silence pressing against my ears. I decided to take a walk to Emily's neighborhood just to see her house from outside, just to feel closer to her. When I reached, the lights were still on. I hesitated, my heart aching for a glimpse of my daughter. Then, I heard voices through the open window. Daniel's voice first, low, annoyed. She's still clinging on. How much longer are we going to entertain her? And Emily laughed. Don't worry. She won't last much longer. She barely has anything left. Once she's gone, everything will be ours anyway. My knees buckled. My own daughter, talking about me like I was an obstacle, a piece of furniture in the way, the hidden papers. The next day, I tried to convince myself it was a misunderstanding, but fate wanted me to see the truth. Emily had left a bag at my house. When I opened it to return it, a folder slipped out. Inside were papers, legal documents, property transfers, signatures, my name, and at the bottom, Daniel's handwriting. Ensure she signs willingly. No disputes. My blood ran cold. They hadn't just drifted away from me. They were plotting, planning to strip me of the only thing I had left, my home. Went to their house, my hands shaking as I clutched the papers. Emily looked startled when she saw me. Mama, what are you doing here? I held up the documents. My voice cracked. What is this, Emily? Tell me it isn't what it looks like.
She froze.
Her eyes darted to Daniel. And then, with a coldness I had never seen before, she said, Mama, you don't need that house. You're old. You'll be better off staying with relatives. Daniel and I need it more than you. The words sliced through me. Emily, that house is all I have left of your father. It's our memories. How could you? But she looked away, her jaw tight. It's just a house, Mama. Don't be so dramatic. Daniel added, his tone dripping with contempt. She'll be out soon enough. Either willingly or not. Stood there, staring at them. The daughter I had carried in my womb, the child I had nursed, the soul I had sacrificed everything for. And she was siding with him. Against me. Tears streamed down my face as I whispered, "Emily, I sold my jewelry for your happiness. I starved so you could eat. I worked my fingers raw so you could study, so you could dream. And now this is what I mean to you." For a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in her eyes. Regret? Shame? But it vanished as quickly as it appeared. She turned away. "You'll understand eventually, Mama. It's better this way." I stumbled out of their house, my vision blurred with tears. The night air felt heavy, pressing against my chest. Every step home was agony. Every memory of her childhood replayed in my mind, her first words, her first steps, the nights she clung to me when storms scared her. And now she was the storm. When I finally reached my house, I collapsed against the doorframe. My body shook with sobs that tore out of me like broken glass. That was the night I realized my daughter was gone. In her place stood a stranger with my blood, but none of my love. I wanted to die that night. Truly I did. The betrayal was too deep, too cruel. But as the hours crawled by, something inside me shifted. If they thought I was weak, if they thought I would surrender everything I had left, they were wrong, that I had been a mother my whole life. Gentle, patient, forgiving. But that night, I decided I would also be a fighter. And they were about to learn that the woman they had underestimated had more strength than they ever imagined. I had been a mother my whole life. Gentle, patient, forgiving. But that night, I decided I would also be a fighter. And they were about to learn that the woman they had underestimated had more strength than they ever imagined. The game had changed. And I was no longer just the victim of their betrayal. I was the storm they never saw coming. The next morning, I sat by the window, staring at the rising sun. The sky bled with colors of fire, and in those flames, I found my resolve. They thought I was weak. They thought they could strip me of everything, leave me with nothing. But I was a mother. I had survived hunger, grief, loneliness, and backbreaking sacrifice. And now, I would survive betrayal. I decided that I would not hand over my house. I would not sign anything. My husband's memories, my life's work, my dignity, they were mine to protect. If Emily and Daniel wanted a fight, they would get one. When Emily and Daniel came days later with the documents, smiling sweetly, pretending it was all for my comfort, I met their gaze with steel. "Sign them, Mama," Emily urged. "It's for your own good." I shook my head slowly. "No." Daniel frowned. "Don't be stubborn. This is the best option for everyone." I leaned forward, my voice low but unshakable. "The only one who benefits here is you. And if you think you can bully me into this, you've forgotten who raised you, Emily." Emily's eyes widened. She wasn't used to hearing me speak with such fire. I slid the documents back across the table. "This house stays mine, until my last breath." Their smiles vanished. Daniel's face twisted with frustration. "Fine. If you won't help us willingly, don't blame us for what happens next." I stood tall. "Do what you want. But remember this. Everything you try to take from me unjustly will crumble in your hands." Emily avoided my eyes. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt in her. A crack in the armor of greed she had built. To anyone listening, if you are a mother, cherish your sacrifices, but also cherish yourself. And if you are a child, never forget the hands that raised you, the tears that fell for you, the love that built your path. For if you betray it, you may gain the world, but you will lose the soul that loved you most. I sold my jewelry to give my daughter her dream. But in return, she sold my heart for her own desires. And though it tore me into pieces, those pieces rebuilt me into someone unbreakable.